Today's topic is about how to endure when your business is struggling. The economy is really tough right now. If you look at the exchange rate in Korea, people are saying the won might go up to 1,500 per dollar. But if you remember, during the IMF crisis, it even went up to 2,000, right? So prices are expected to rise a lot now. So since having just one job isn't safe anymore, I actually see Atomy as a great opportunity right now. People are constantly trying to do something these days. But if Atomy were a business that only operated in the domestic market, I think it might be tough for us too, but that's absolutely not the case. We're a global business, and these days people pay attention to things like geopolitics. People say America is the best, but anyway, even though our country doesn't have resources, what do we have? We're diligent and hardworking. So I believe that no matter what, we'll definitely make it happen. And human beings have always managed to endure well in any environment, right? Think back to the old days, everyone. Even when you thought you couldn't go on, things turned out well, didn't they? Right? Even when you thought everything was ruined, things still worked out and you got back up, didn't you? So right now, the economy is really, really tough. Have you ever heard anyone say that our economy was ever really good? No, right? But from now on, it's going to get even worse. That's the thing. So you have to accept this. And since the gap between rich and poor is only going to get worse, you really need to stay sharp now. So what the head office does is mainly provide lectures for beginners, right? That means you can do it. You can do it. Isn't that right? But I'm someone who's out there in the field who really has to survive in Atomy and who needs to earn system income as a leader. To do that, I can't just speak informally. Why? If I only speak informally and my whole team doesn't understand and things don't go well, that's not good. I need to talk about how to endure even in tough environments, and I've shared stories about getting through difficult situations, but the point is there are people who actually understand and make it happen. So the main Atomy Zoom meetings that I lead are like this. I'm not saying that everyone can succeed. There are people here who also want to succeed. They want to make money. Based on stories of facing challenges and solving problems on the ground, I'm telling you to create your own path. You understand, right? Then you all need to face reality. How am I going to endure? Here's how you endure. First of all, the most important thing is that you have to work even harder yourself. In France, they say this. France has a really good welfare system, right? But now, because the welfare system is so good, now the budget is becoming a problem. So recently, they've been saying things like this. They're trying to get rid of holidays now. They're making people work on 2 of the public holidays. France is also changing so that people work on things like this. So in the end, when we look at other countries, we can learn from them, right? In the end, we realize that welfare eventually becomes a problem. It's the same for us too. There have always been a lot of red days, holidays. Taking a break is a personal freedom. But even so, there were people who kept moving. Those people are the ones who will do better. So it's not just about resting when it's time to rest and playing when it's time to play. When it's time to make money, there's a right time for that. So if you feel like now is the time to really focus in Atomy, and it seems like the tide is coming in, when the wind is blowing, you have to fly your kite. At times like that, even if there are holidays, don't worry about taking days off. If you need to do it at that time, you have to keep going without resting. When it's time to immerse yourself, that's why I didn't take any breaks either. I even went as far as the farthest relative's house. And what happened then? I ended up doing better than others. So when can you take a break? If you set things up well for when you're sick or need rest, you'll definitely be greatly rewarded. When you're sick, or when you get older, or when you really can't do anything, at those times, you end up being rewarded for all the hard work you put in before. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone who played and rested whenever everyone else did become wealthy. You understand, right? So then, who should work harder? It's the person who clearly understands this vision, the one who thinks, I have to succeed here. That's the person who should push themselves. That's why I don't want to force anyone. I thought that I needed to work even harder, so I did. Why? Because I knew for sure that after Chuseok, sales would spike and then drop again. I've been doing Atomy for a long time. It's been 8 years now, so what happens? I have a sense for it now. When that slump hits, some people get even more discouraged by it. Some people get really down, like a sudden drop in volatility, but there are also those who endure that slump and keep pushing forward. So what happens to the leaders who anticipated that and took action? They hold on and then they start running again. Or sometimes they might even make a bigger leap. You know what I mean, right? That's why you always need to keep your sense sharp and keep steering in the right direction. So right now, I think the economy is tough for everyone, and actual sales have probably dropped a lot as well. Why? Because the Chuseok holiday just ended. Back then, sales spiked. So for those who saw higher than usual sales, they sold a lot. So what happens now? Things will probably be quiet for a while. At times like this, people tend to get a bit lazy. What's going on? Why isn't Atomy taking off? Why aren't sales going up? You should be feeling confused right now. So what should you do? You need to realize that you have to meet more people. You know what I mean, right? So rather than focusing on temporary sales, you need to keep the system, if you want the system to keep running, as more leaders emerge and as part-timers, loyal customers, and full-timers appear, you need to keep this cycle going. So this is actually a really important key point today. First of all, this is how I see it. There are always people who seize opportunities when a crisis comes. But those who seize opportunities in a crisis are the ones who get the biggest rewards. That was the case for me as well. Because I did well during COVID, I was greatly rewarded for it. So if you want to succeed even in these tough times, you have to focus. That means you need to start by changing your mindset. When you see your partner's sales starting to drop, you might suddenly think, why isn't my partner working harder? You start having these negative thoughts. But it's not about blaming your partner. You should be blaming yourself. You should think, oh, I guess I need to work even harder. Oh, the sales spiked like this, but that was just because of the Chuseok holiday, right? Ah, so this is my real ability. You need to keep yourself a little on edge like this. That's why you need to push yourself to do more. And think about it. Do you think partners who are earning only 50,000 to 100,000 won will really work hard? But people keep going to those who only make 50 to 100,000 won and asking why they're not working harder. Then who should really be working hard? At the very least, those who are auto, semi, or sales masters and above should be the ones putting in the effort. Even more so. Why? Because we need to have more mid-level leaders. In fact, even though semi-sales master is just a promotion in our ranking system and is still a rookie, even at the lowest rank, they're still generating several million won in sales every month. That means there are people who attend seminars, people who use the products, and a variety of business partners. So there are partners and sponsors all working together. At the very least, those who maintain the semi-sales master rank, you need to support them even more diligently. It's not the partners who should be managing the consumers below them. Rather, those who maintain auto semi-sales master should be more involved and take charge of customer management beneath them. The same goes for me. You understand what I mean, right? You need to set that example. Only when you show that kind of initiative will your partners think, wow, our sponsor is really working hard. That's why they're successful. That way, duplication happens smoothly and there are no conflicts. You get it, right? And another issue is that people want to make things easier for themselves, so they keep trying to find someone who's already good at this. Why? To connect them with a sponsor. But everyone, it's good to connect them with a sponsor, but that sponsor will also evaluate the partner. They'll be looking to see if that person is truly capable of nurturing someone under them. Why? Because you can't always guarantee that someone will be your key person. The growth point of our line can always change, depending on what kind of leader emerges. That's why they look at that person's capacity and also at those under them, at their future. Even if someone is under that person, they might end up falling away. You get a sense of that. It's not 100% accurate, but usually once you gain some experience, you can see it. So people often think that if they keep attaching sponsors, things will just grow rapidly, but that may or may not happen. So you have to look at it from your own perspective. That's why it's not about finding someone who's really good. You should start by finding people who seem approachable, get feedback as you go, and by recruiting those approachable people, you need to build up your own experience. By building up your own experience and becoming truly solid yourself, when real leaders appear, you'll be able to play the role of giving them strong support from the ground up. In those cases, among the leaders who were left to the sponsor, There hasn't been anyone who succeeded. Why? Even the sponsor needs to be in perfect sync and cooperation with that leader for things to work out. Do you think the sponsor will just manage everything? That's not the case. All three elements need to work together in harmony. I'm important, the people above are important, and the people below are important too. So when everyone's roles fit together perfectly, things run smoothly. But if you just stick a sponsor on and do nothing, expecting everything to work out on its own, that just doesn't happen. Well, it might happen on rare occasions, but in the end, I don't think there have been many cases where things went well that way. I've seen organizations that collapsed even after initial success. So in the end, it's better to go through hardships and rise slowly rather than having things go well all at once. Because when things collapse, it's even harder to get back up again. You know what I mean, right? Why? Because they've already tasted it. Usually we say that someone who has tasted good meat knows the flavor and will want it again. But on the contrary, sometimes people get exhausted and can't do it again after experiencing it. That's why it's better to climb up step by step like this. Now, moving on. When sales drop, the leaders need to take action, right? But do you know what happens if the leaders don't move? The partners who are working diligently below them often don't make any substantial money, and they genuinely don't see any real hope for their future. That's precisely when people inevitably start leaving the organization. And if I am not completely obsessed with this critical issue, right? If you're not obsessed, then at least pretend to be crazy about it. For whom? For your partners, because in the end, this is a business of duplication. If you always look anxious and stressed out, that energy is contagious. You can't let that happen. So whenever you face these problems, when sales are sluggish or it feels like the business is going down, that's when you need to be even more passionate, brighter, and energetic. Even start by wearing bright clothes. You really can't underestimate how much that can lift your mood. If you wear dark clothes, it can make you feel even more depressed. And just seeing something dark can put you in a bad mood. So I recommend wearing something bright. And there are some people who are really good at solving problems during these times. There aren't many, but the leaders who manage to overcome and endure these problems well, there is bound to be great growth, inner strength, and great rewards. Why? Because, thank you all. Watch the game. In the end, large corporations prevent ordinary people from consuming goods. So at first, it won't have any effect on large corporations or anything like that. But what will happen over time? It will be affected. If consumption does not occur, the same goes for Atomy. Everyone, even if the leaders at the higher ranks make a lot of money at first, what do you think will happen if beginners at the bottom suddenly stop using products one by one and start dropping out? In the end, even the leaders at the top are affected. So everyone, after Chuseok, if things suddenly slow down, it's not just you, although there are some people who are doing well, most people probably feel this slump. And when things are down like this, especially with the economy being tough, it could get even worse. Prices are rising, the currency is unstable, and everything feels so uncertain right now. In times like these, even leaders are looking for talent. So if you think about it the other way around, even if you're struggling, leaders are also searching for people who are doing well. That means this could actually be an opportunity. We're always told to look for people who are better than us, to meet them. In life, they say to meet people who are wealthier than you, but even wealthy people want to meet people who are better than themselves. It's not just about money going out or just saying thank you. They don't want to waste their time meeting people who waste time. Honestly, unless someone is really attractive, has more money than them, has something to teach, or is exceptionally intelligent, do you think they'll just meet anyone? Are you crazy? You have to accept that. So what I always say about Atomy is that it's the only tool that allows ordinary people to become wealthy. There are many leaders in Atomy who are making money right now. There are people earning tens of millions of won, you know. Then, because this is a 4-stage system, even those leaders can experience a domino effect. If they're influenced from below, so at the root, there are people who are really trying to make it happen. But they don't have any money, but they're working so hard and they're desperate. So what happens then? The harder things get, the more those hardworking people stand out. When the economy is good, there are so many talented people. You can't see them. Isn't that right? It's just too competitive. But when the economy is tough, everyone says they're struggling. Even then, there are people who are still trying to make it happen. And those people really stand out. Wow, even in these circumstances, they're working that hard. Wow, they're working so hard without even taking a break. What do you think comes to mind then? Leaders have to run their own businesses too. It's the same for me. I also think, wow, sales are really booming. Well, some people fall behind, but there are also those who do well and hang in there. So what happens then? You think, I should help that person grow. This can actually become an opportunity. I'm a case like that. When COVID hit and everyone else was saying it was the end, I immediately integrated the system online and made sure people could still connect somehow. So what happens then? Even so, when you solve a problem, what happens? I experienced tremendous growth, developed counseling skills, and gained the opportunity to receive significant rewards. And how did I handle sponsors? I seized the opportunity that was right there. So what does that mean in the end? It's because I survived when the economy was bad. It's the same in war, everyone. The Russia war has been ongoing, right? The Russia-Ukraine war. So Russians have fought in many wars. They've been involved in them. So what happens when they just invade another country? They have inner strength because they have that sense they can endure well. But what about other countries that haven't done anything suddenly? Who do you think will win in that gap? Of course, Russia would win. Why? Because they've overcome all the difficult things. So just like in war, in Atomy, some will fall behind and some will drop out. But even so, there are a few people who make it through. Then you just need to catch those people. Those are the real ones. Why? Because despite everything, they understand the value of this vision. So since I have that kind of experience, I actually think you should act the opposite way in times like this. Even among the sponsors above, there are people who say it's tough and that they're struggling too. They're fools. Why? Even the sponsors are probably feeling a sense of crisis right now. Everyone does. Wouldn't they want to quickly develop capable people and get things settled as soon as possible rather than staying in a state of anxiety? That's why you need to show yourself doing even better and being energetic. That's also the teamwork we have at Atomy, right? The only reason I can say Atomy offers such a great opportunity is because it's not just about my own abilities, but about what we can achieve together as a team. So your mindset is really important here. Now let's get into how to actually endure this. First, you need to know yourself. You need to be cool-headed. This business, I'll do well, it'll work out. Doing things in a haphazard way like that doesn't really work at Atomy anymore. Why? Because everything has become so transparent now. If you just do a quick search, you'll see. Thank you. You can find out everything online. Consumers have become so smart. And if you don't know something, you can just ask your smart kids like, hey, is this place okay? Because people can ask around like this. There are so many people to ask, so much information to look up, and even things like ChatGPT are available now. Now, you really need to know yourself first. So let's say you want to do Atomy. You want to succeed, right? Then as Imperial Master said, there are only two options. First, let's say I'm ignorant. I can't explain anything. I just watch the stage and don't know anything. In that case, you need to do exactly what your sponsor tells you. Follow the directions just like this, step by step. If you really don't know anything, then you have to accept things as you're told. Because you don't know, you just have to trust and follow your sponsor's guidance. But there are some people like this. They're ignorant, but they're also stubborn. I said it's going to be tough for those people. Because if you at least do as you're told, you can be guided in the right direction somehow. But if you have your own stubbornness and obstinacy on top of that, then what are you supposed to do? So if I really don't know anything and feel a bit ignorant, in those cases, just do as you're told. And you might end up with the wrong sponsor, but I think that's just luck as well. There are a lot of people who, when they run into things like that, try to study or figure things out in a complicated way on their own. People who say they don't like that. Then you really have no choice but to learn by experiencing things yourself. So you need to meet those kinds of people too and be thankful for it. That's how you come to realize, I shouldn't consult with sponsors like this. You feel it in your body. There's no other way. So first of all, I don't know anything. I'm ignorant. When that's the case, just do as you're told. And secondly, I really don't like that. I'm on my own. If you're going to do it on your own, then do it well. So I said there are only those two options. With Atomy, if you want to do something with yourself, if you're ignorant, just do as you're told. Or secondly, figure it out and do it well on your own. But for me, at first, since I was ignorant, I just did what the Imperial told me to do. How am I now? Now I just handle things on my own. So in my case, I started out ignorant and then evolved. Some of you probably have experience in network marketing, right? Those people might be able to do well on their own too. But since I had no experience, I didn't know the first thing about network marketing. So what was I supposed to do? I had to do as I was told. What I did well was simply following what my sponsor told me to do. And here's what's important. You all need to be good at copying. Copying what? As we get older, we don't really want to study. So you need to be good at copying successful people. Why do so many people gather around that person? What is it about them that's so attractive? You need to keep observing and copying those who are doing well and make it your own. If you get good at copying, you can definitely succeed too. Also, most people don't just figure things out on their own, right? It's the same for everyone here too. So now you need to do consultations. One of the consultation techniques is called genealogy consultation. When you do leg consultations, you end up consulting about the left and right legs of your own team. But what's important here is that you should never do genealogy consultations when you're with your partner, because there are situations like this. People often get confused and with their partner right next to them say things like, sponsor, there's a new recruit here and they're about to sign up. Should I put them on the left side? Should I put them on the right side? Let's say you're having a consultation. Suppose the partner next to me is my left side partner. My left side partner is right next to me and I'm asking if I should put them on the left side or on the right side. If you say this, what do you think the sponsor is supposed to say? Of course, since the left side partner is right there, they'll tell you to put them on the left side. But in my mind, I actually want to put them on the right side. So what should I do? You shouldn't take away your partner, but people just don't have a sense for this. It's because they're only thinking about themselves. It's because they're still stuck in the habit of running their own personal business. But this is a system, duplication. And even if I'm not there, it still needs to keep running. That means you need to focus even more on the other person, everyone. So when you're doing counseling, especially with the genealogy chart, it's best to do it alone. The reason you need to use the genealogy chart during counseling is this. If you don't draw the genealogy chart, you keep fooling yourself into thinking you've worked really hard. Just because you attend a lot of trainings doesn't mean your business will do well. Even if someone receives training for 10 years, if it's not working, it will never work for them. What's important is that receiving training is also crucial for duplication. And I need to recharge my passion, receive my own motivation, and also ensure duplication happens. But what's the most essential thing? After going through the system like that, you need to meet people. So if you look at the genealogy chart and see that the number of legs isn't increasing, that means I'm not actually working. Then do you know why people don't do genealogy consultations? Because when you look at the genealogy chart, it's hard to show any real progress. So what does that mean? It means I'm being exposed. So there's nothing to talk about in the consultation. That's why they don't do consultations. And then who do they blame? They blame the company, blame someone else, blame the sponsor, blame the partner, they blame everyone. But honestly, none of that means anything. This is my business after all. If you keep blaming others, it's only your own business that will go downhill. Especially when things are tough like this, it's actually a chance to create opportunities for your sponsor to help you. Because you see, this is a kind of pressure to re-examine things. So let's say the economy is tough for us. When the economy is bad, how is it if you work with a capable sponsor? Of course, it's great. So what happens then? You have to become a capable person yourself for other capable people to even look at you. That's the reality, everyone. So instead of getting annoyed, you should think about how you would work with that person and do your best with that in mind. Why? Because this is business, right? Business isn't some kind of silent gathering. That's why you have to do well. So you need to accurately draw out this lineage chart and figure out whether you're actually working or not. For me, what's important is that I look at my left and right sales figures. When I look at my sales, the left side is much bigger. But I always look at the root. When I look at the root to make sure there are no withered areas, I always feel like it's still weak. That's why I keep adding people to the left side as well, regardless of sales. Why? Because sales, when the number of people increases, sales naturally go up. But if people only focus on sales, in that case, would you be able to add people to the left side or not? You absolutely can. If the right side isn't working, But for me, no matter what, I know very clearly that for either the left or right side to grow, one side has to get bigger for the other to become easier. That's why I keep building it out so that the base is maintained. If you have this mindset, your pace over 3 or 5 years will be completely different from someone who only focuses on sales. And the organization will take on a certain character. It becomes my color, my kind of organization, one that focuses on developing people. What happens then? It doesn't matter if sales drop for a while, things stay stable and comfortable. There might be some fluctuations, but it never just collapses. That's what's important. But if you only focus on sales, it just collapses. You get what I mean, right? This is why your mindset and the direction of a leader's sense and vision are so important. Now, as you work with members, everyone has times when things go smoothly, but there are also times when you feel depleted. I'm the same way. I get depleted all the time. My network has run out. For me to build new connections is almost like pulling something out of thin air. So, what do I do until then? For those of you just starting your business, you probably have a lot of connections, but after a year, 2 years, 3 or 4, as time goes by, your network will definitely get depleted. And there will be times when there's no one left to meet and people won't meet you. When that happens, be grateful. You need to quickly get introduced to your partner's partners and provide support. Here's what's important. When your own members aren't coming in, you need to directly support your partner's partners yourself. If you don't provide support, it creates a kind of stagnation effect. Since this person below me, well, my left side sales have grown a lot. So naturally, I'll try to catch up on the right side. I was also working hard, searching for people and putting in the effort to grow my team, right? As I tried to balance things out, the right side started to catch up. So what happens? If I focus my attention on the right side, things start to even out a bit, right? As things balance, what happens? I start to see what's happening below. I can see that this side is starting to wither away. Whether I attach people directly or take action in some other way, I have to step in. This is exactly what it means to have the ability to solve problems. Most people just leave things unattended, and that's why their business doesn't work out. People who succeed are different. They somehow manage to revive that problem, no matter what. But of course, everyone has their own know-how for doing that. But usually, either I directly assign someone to them or I personally support that person and quickly get introduced to others. But in my experience, while introductions are important, sometimes it's actually faster to assign my own person and have things move down quickly. You know what I mean, right?